Hi, and welcome to a slightly late episode of Speaking from the Center. I am Tim, and
Hi.
on his mobile setup is Nolan.
Hello. I'm here. No matter what, I'm always here.
So we had a few weeks off. How was your break?
It went by very quickly.
It did go by very quickly.
Went by very
Uh,
quickly.
your camera seems to be doing a thing.
What's it doing?
Um, it's like you remember like when you were a kid, and sometimes you got like fuzzy porn channels on your TV. It's like that.
That's encouraging.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's better now. You might turn into fuzzy porn at random points. So
Well, it is what it is. I'm on my phone because my laptop, my my trusty laptop of like a decade now, has finally decided to crap out.
it's always fun when that happens.
Like it said, we need to uninstall things we did to your computer, and I went, well, that's odd. That's
Yeah, that
that's
sounds like
usually That's usually not how that goes. It's usually not, hey, let's take stuff off. It's more like, hey, let's fix this. Let's
yeah,
update this one's uninstalling changes made to the computer.
yeah. That's a weird one.
20 minutes later.
Yeah. So if you want Nolan to get a better laptop, support us by putting money towards our Patreon.
Yes, add
Uh,
money to the Patreon that I will never see, but it'll mean so much to us.
yes. If we get enough money, we can buy Nolan a new laptop. That's all I'm saying. We can maybe
That's
find.
a
Yeah,
possibility.
if like I said, if we get enough money, um, patreon.com/sftc. So let's get to the title of the episode. We're going to have a fun conversation about the U.S. Senate.
Do we have to?
A little.
Damn it.
So I figured we'd start with a little bit of how the Senate runs, a little bit of the history of the Senate, and then we'll get to some modern day stuff that the Senate is just doing to itself.
I mean, how the
Uh,
Senate runs is easy enough to explain to everybody. Badly.
yes, yes. Uh,
And that's about it.
so some civics 101. The United States has a bicameral legislature, which means it has a House of Representatives, which is the lower chamber, and the U.S.
And
Senate, which is,
C-SPAN is required to keep two cameras on it at all times.
yeah, and it has the U.S. Senate, which is the upper chamber, kind of like a House of Lords, if you will, except that we're not allowed to give out titles.
Yeah, there's no peerage, and you're not allowed to drink before you come to work, unlike the Parliament.
Or I don't know if you've seen like news on the Connecticut state legislature, but a couple of representatives were yelled at for drinking on the floor.
Hey, man, it's a tough job. You're representing people from the state of Connecticut. That's miserable work.
I saw the reporting, and it was like so and so was drinking on the floor while people were giving speeches, and it's like, well, they got a tough job. They're not a full time legislature. They only get like 4 months to do everything, and they only do it every other year. So they really got to cram it in.
You want to drink on the job, politics is the one to do it.
I suppose.
What were they drinking anyway?
I have no idea. I didn't. It didn't say in the article what they were drinking.
And this coming from, you know why they were drinking? Because it was probably during the whole debate about whether or not we were going to legalize weed as a state.
Probably, but we did
Which
it. We
we
did
did it.
it. Congratulations, Connecticut. You're, I don't know, 3 or 4 years behind Massachusetts.
Perpetually, man.
That's because Connecticut's the state that doesn't like to do anything.
Lived here most of my life. Can confirm. I don't like to do anything.
So, the Senate, being the upper chamber, has two representatives per state. They're not based on population or anything. Every state just gets two, which means there's about 50 of them or 100 of them. Wow, math. There's 100 senators, and they all don't like each other. They're all just angry all the time.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is the Senate the angry one? I figured the House would be.
no, I mean, the Senate's the one that's 50-50 right now. So nobody can it as long as nobody gets along, nothing gets done. Let's see. What other helpful facts could we do? Oh, the vice president of the United States is the president of the Senate.
Thank
And
God.
currently she gets to cast tie-breaking votes because there's a lot of them.
I think my laptop started working.
Ooh, maybe. I'll spout more knowledge while you're doing that. Senators serve 6-year terms. Every 2 years, 1/3 of the Senate is up for re-election. So, unlike the House, where the entire House of Representatives is up for re-election every 2 years, only 33 to 34 senators are up for re-election every 2 years. They stagger out their terms so that it happens that way. Let's see. Anything else? The Senate has, aside from the president of the Senate has a Senate president pro temp who sits and runs the Senate while the vice president isn't there. And the majority leader and the minority leader get to set, I guess, policy or rules for the Senate. And they also get to set agendas based on whoever's in the majority and the minority. Usually, the majority and minority leaders are the most senior senators of their parties. And we will get to talking about the filibuster later because that's what's causing a bunch of problems. Let's see, anything else? So, the qualifications to be a senator, you must be at least 30 years old. You must have been a United States citizen for at least 9 years. And you must live in the state you want to represent. And that's it. Currently, like I said, the United States Senate is split 50-50. But not exactly. Currently, there are 48 Democrats, 50 Republicans, and 2 independent senators who usually caucus with the Democrats. One of them is Bernie Sanders. Who is the other one? His name is Angus King. He's from the state of Maine. He's also an independent. But both of those usually caucus with the Democrats and give the Senate its 50-50 split. And, the way the bill becomes the law is, oh, you're back. He left. He's gone. I'm all alone. I don't want to be all alone. Anyway, while Nolan's not here, we're going to talk shit about him. Because he just left me. He just left me. And he's not coming back. Just like Keith. Just like Keith never came back. He just got up and walked away one day. Anyway, the way bills pass through the Senate is basically the same they pass through the House of Representatives. The bills are written up, presented to committees, and Nolan, he's back. Look at that. And can I hear you? I should have made sure I could hear you first. I can't hear you.
I'm not talking, so
Oh, okay.
now I am.
Okay. Well, I brought us through the civics lesson. Uh,
Yay!
I suppose we should talk about the filibuster.
Yeah.
So the Senate has, let's call it a unique rule. It's actually a loophole in other Senate rules. So when a bill is proposed on the floor of the Senate, usually the Senate votes on something called unanimous consent, where the leading party proposes a time that the bill can be debated. And because the regular rules of the Senate is that there's unlimited debate on bills. So unanimous consent is an agreement to limit debate to a certain amount of hours, whatever they want it to be, and then to vote on the bill. If not, if there aren't enough votes to get unanimous consent, which there has to be unanimous votes for it, so all 100 senators have to agree to this, then the bill is up for unlimited debate. And the only way to stop debate is to vote for something called cloture, which is a majority vote to end debate on a bill. And the filibuster rule comes in when a senator will not yield the floor uh, to end debate. That was the original intent, at least anyway. And the only way to override a filibuster is to have a 60 vote majority. So 60 senators have to say, I've had it with this crap. I'm tired of debating. Let's just get on with it. And it used to be you had to actually physically be on the floor talking to filibuster. But they changed the rules so where you can just stand up and say I'm filibustering and then walk out until the Senate can find 60 votes to stop you. And that's part of the reason why there's so much logjam in the Senate right now, is because of the filibuster rule and how it's been exploited over the last, I want to say, 2 or 3 decades. I don't
I
really
mean,
remember it. I don't really
y-
remember it being a problem during the Clinton administration.
I mean, filibustering has been around since the creation of the country.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it hadn't really been used until, I want to say, like the 70s or the 80s.
No, I would say probably in the 60s. Like, there's two periods of American time to look at with regards to this. One is the pre-Civil War, the other is the post-Civil War, because initially there was another party in Washington, the Whig Party.
The Whig Party.
They're not around anymore.
I wonder why.
But for the most part, after the Whigs kind of dropped off after the presidency of Andrew Jackson, for obvious reasons, he terrified them all out of office. But it was primarily not used just for fear of the Democrats needed, or no, who was it?
So so the filibuster was apparently created by accident
Yes,
in
there was.
1789.
It was a loophole where they were like, "Yeah, let's get rid of this. You know, anybody can move you forward with a. I've had enough of this."
Yeah.
And they went, "Oh, well, okay, but if there's no, if you need a supermajority to move a thing along, then you can filibuster and just talk the thing to death."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're right though. It was around the 1960s, like mid 1960s to the 1970s, when the 60 vote rule really came into play,
well,
and the actual filibuster started
it
getting
had
used.
always been there. It was used to keep Andrew, or it was used to attempt to keep Andrew Jackson from attaining the White House. Um, it
What,
failed.
they didn't want Andrew Jackson in the White House?
Yeah, apparently not. Um, but,
Poor Andrew Jackson.
but that it had been used previously, but relevant for today
I mean,
is from starting basically with the civil rights movements and the civil rights acts of the late 50s and through the 60s.
right. And the most famous filibuster from Senator Strom Thurmond.
Strom Thurmond, what a schmuck.
Who has the record for the longest standing filibuster of 24 hours and 18 minutes,
Yeah.
uh, during which he read laws from different states and recited George Washington's farewell address in its entirety. He couldn't have picked like better material than some laws from
what
random
what
states and then
what was
George
he
Washington's farewell address.
what was he going to realistically talk about? It was 1957, 19.
I mean, there's no rules on what you can talk about. Fucking Ted Cruz read Green Eggs and Ham.
Yeah, only Ted Cruz could have done that because only Ted Cruz could take up more than 20 minutes reading Green Eggs and Ham. I
By the
will
way, that
not,
is
could not. Oh, wait, I got that line wrong. I would not, could not on a boat because I don't think Ted Cruz really knows how to read.
yeah, it should have been like, here, I'll let you see the pictures. Here, look at there's the picture.
Holding up the book. There you go, everybody. Oh, Jesus.
I mean, there's been a few interesting ones through the years. I remember Rand Paul did a filibuster over the Obama's drone strike program because he didn't like it. That one didn't last too long though.
No.
There's been a couple of interesting ones. Um, one of our senators filibustered for a while. It was just after Sandy Hook. I think it was Chris Murphy. He filibustered over a vote on gun control laws. His lasted a day, I believe, but not like a full day.
Yeah, like a full day of them being in the office on the floor, which is like what, 4 hours?
Well, he did one of the standing filibusters where he talked on the floor for as long as he could,
Mm.
and that's usually when I mean, there's two ways the filibuster is used now. It's used to stop things from happening or to prove a point. And the stop things from happening is the one where everyone just leaves and says we're filibustering and they just walk off. And if you want to prove a point, you read Green Eggs and Ham. I don't know
Only
what.
Ted Cruz could take that long to read Green Eggs and Ham. Like,
But I mean, nowadays, I mean, Mitch McConnell became famous for his use of the filibuster in recent years, in the last decade or so. That's why they call him the Grim Reaper, because he's killed so many laws or bills with his constant filibustering. And now the Democrats are trying to get rid of it.
I really wish the Democrats would come up with a better plan when something doesn't work the way they want it to and doesn't work out in their favor and just get rid of it.
Yeah.
This doesn't work to our advantage. Get rid of it.
Well, the argument against getting rid of it is that, well,
It's
if you get rid of
racist.
I believe that's the argument for getting rid of it.
That's the argument for everything the Democrats have these
Yeah.
days. We have to get rid of it. Why? Because it's racist. How? Oh, you're a racist.
Moscow Mitch. Oh no, Nolan left me again.
Like,
Oh, you're back.
yeah, I
Thank
had to
God.
close the door.
So yeah, the argument against getting rid of it is that once the Democrats don't have power anymore, the Republicans are just going to push through whatever they want to do, even if they have the slightest majority in the Senate.
And
and it's
that's
going to be like a ping pong of them replacing and repealing laws between each other that they don't like.
and the country really can't handle that.
Yeah.
We just tried to like peacefully switch presidents, and that ended in a fucking riot.
Yeah, I don't think we can do anything peacefully as a country anymore.
Yeah, that's a problem.
Yeah, that is a problem. Oh, speaking of which, did you hear that Trump's going to be reinstated in August?
I did hear that. I
I want
wonder
to.
if. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to see. I want to see them try that. I want to see. I want to see Trump walk into the White House and be like, "Get out of here, Sleepy Joe. I'm president again.
I
Move
wonder.
along."
I wonder if it's like he thinks it's going to happen, like a law is going to be passed, or if that's like code for that's when we launch a second attempted coup.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
have a big rally and everybody storm the White House, but this time, fucking go for the throat. You
Well, like,
know,
how are they? They don't even have like a date. They'll just be like, sometime in August, he's just gonna be president again.
it's called delusion. Again, either there's a coup coming
Mhm.
or they're completely detached from reality.
I think it's probably both.
Well,
I mean, one sort of facilitates the other. You know, if you,
that's true.
to do the coup, you have to be completely detached from reality.
Yeah, yeah, that would make sense.
Because the people who did it the first time were completely detached from reality. Like they were not. They don't live in the same country that everyone else lives in.
Only
They
they
live in a
do, and that's the problem.
well, yeah, but mentally they're like they
Oh
don't.
yeah,
They, you know, that Trump is still president in their minds, which is not good.
it's very disturbing.
I can't. I honestly can't remember, and I don't think it's ever happened where an entire group of people are like, "Yeah, this guy's definitely not president, and our guy's going to be president again next month." Like that's
Well, it's like you said. I don't think we can do things peacefully as a country anymore.
yeah. I don't think. Did you keep up? I don't know how much news you've been seeing, but did you keep up on
I
Uncle Uncle Biden's trip around the world?
I know he met with the Russian president Vladimir Putin, and they agreed to an exchange of ambassadors to resume diplomatic
Yeah,
talks, but nothing else binding came from it.
yeah, and they had a very awkward. They didn't have a joint press conference, but they had like an awkward photo shoot where Biden is looking as like proper as he can, and Putin couldn't look more disinterested in physically being there.
Yeah, I mean, we're not friends with Russia, and we never should try to be.
Yeah,
Unless Russia repeals its decriminalization of domestic violence and enacts some kind of prohibition law, there is no reason for us to ever be friendly with the Russians.
yeah. Also, they're still trying to eat the entirety of Ukraine.
I don't care. I don't care about the Ukraine. Fuck the Ukraine. It's I don't care.
Well, I
I
mean,
could
at
care
this
less
point,
about the Ukraine or Belarus or Kazakhstan or any of those breakaway Soviet republics.
oh, poor Belarus.
No, Belarus is barely independent. Like they're independent. Like seriously, one day somebody's going to push the button and all the flags are going to switch to the Russian one, and everybody will go, "Where's Belarus?" And Belarus will look at them and go, "Come on, really? This went on for long enough. You knew what was going on.
Is it like
We've
that
been."
episode? Is it like that episode of The Simpsons where they're suddenly the Soviet Union again,
Yeah, exactly.
and
Only they won't be
Lenin
the
comes out
Soviet
of his
Union
grave?
again. Yes. Like even the Belarusian president's got to be looking at people going, this isn't real, right? Like 20 years. We've been doing this for 20 years and they haven't caught on. It's unbelievable.
He also met with most of the European leaders at the G7 summit, and they all had a big party because Trump's not president anymore. They were
Wouldn't
all like,
you?
yeah, the French even Boris, what's his name?
Johnston.
Yeah, even that guy, he was like, yes, no more Trump.
Yeah, that just shows what an opportunist Boris Johnson is, because everybody knows Boris Johnson is the British
Yeah,
Trump. He's the
yeah.
British Trump knockoff.
But the French president, Germany was super excited. They're all like, America's back. Yay, America.
I wonder, isn't Japan part of that?
Is Japan part of the G7?
I would imagine they'd have to be, because who are the seven?
It's us, Britain, France,
France,
Germany.
Germany, Spain, Italy. Oh, maybe it's just Spain, Italy, and Canada.
Yeah. So, okay. Technically, they're the G8, but we kicked Russia out. So it's Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, the United States.
That makes sense. Spain got kicked out. Spain was probably never a member, huh? I bet
I
who's in
don't
charge
think
of
so.
Japan these days? Is it still Shinzo Hirohito Abe, whatever
No,
his
they
name?
haven't. They have a new prime minister.
Yeah.
Let me look him up because I forget how to pronounce his
So
name.
that would make sense
Not
because
Shinzo Abe anymore.
Shinzo Abe liked Trump. So
It's I'm gonna butcher this horribly, but it's Yoshide Suga.
that's as close as anybody in the world could have gotten, included the man with that name.
His party is the Liberal Democratic Party.
Yeah. Yeah, Japan's got a new prime minister, and so does Israel.
Yeah, Netanyahu's out.
Yeah. The scary thing is that I was informed by someone who follows these things a little bit more closely, is that this guy is to the right of Netanyahu.
Right, yeah. So if I remember correctly, all of the minority parties in Israel got together and formed like a majority coalition to get Netanyahu out of there.
Yes.
And the parties are going to take turns having one of their guys be prime minister.
Yeah, we'll see how well that works.
Yeah.
You know who's been able to do that successfully?
Who?
One country that I'm aware of, Sweden.
Really?
The Swedes did this thing called the summer and winter government, where the majority government, the guys who'd won the election, ran during the summer, and then in the winter they let the minority party take over and say, "Okay, you guys are going to be the stewards and run things. We're going to go on vacation."
I mean that works. That works, I guess.
Right? Fairly clever of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hope that Israel can. Of course, Israel and Hamas are at it again a little bit.
Well, that's good because we wouldn't want anybody in the United States to have a reason to not scream and yell about something.
Yeah. Fun fact: the Swedish government recalled their leader. There
Their
was a
current one?
yeah, their current one. There was a no confidence vote in the Swedish parliament against their prime minister Stefan Löfven.
Oh, maybe that's why we haven't seen.
Chartan.
Yeah, maybe Shartan's been busy. Maybe he might be the next prime minister.
He might be. I mean, how many people live in Sweden? He's got to be up at some point.
Yeah, yeah. At some point, it's whoever's not taking their turn is the royal family. Oh God. So we were talking about filibusters before we got sidetracked.
It's okay. So currently, the Republican Party is using the filibuster to stop anything that comes out of the House of Representatives, which they've been doing for a few years because they've been out of power in the House since 2018. But they've had the Senate until this year.
Right.
So anything the Democrats want to do, they just filibuster and it doesn't happen unless it's
Right.
a Supreme Court nominee. And then there's no filibuster for that anymore because Mitch McConnell torpedoed that rule.
Right. Back when it made sense for him to do so, although there probably won't be a change in the court for a decade or so
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, they're trying to get
Well,
Justice
again,
Breyer to retire, but he doesn't want to.
Yeah, well, why would he? He's a conservative judge, isn't he?
I think Breyer's one of the liberal judges.
Oh, so they want to put even more conservatives on there.
Well, I mean, they want Joe Biden to have a Supreme Court pick. That's what they want.
Well, what does it matter? It doesn't matter if you're swapping one liberal out for another.
Well, they want to put a young one in that'll be there for a while. They don't want to have another
Oh, you mean like Brett
Ruth Bader.
Kavanaugh?
Yeah, yeah. They don't want to have another Ruth Bader Ginsburg situation where she didn't retire under Obama and then she didn't make it to the next Democratic president.
Did
I mean,
Obama
that's
get one?
he got two. He got
Sotomayor was one of them.
Sotomayor was one of them. Who was the other one?
I don't remember there being another one.
Maybe there wasn't. Maybe he only got one.
I think he might have only had the one.
Google will tell me.
Well, that's important. But yeah, I mean, the Republicans doing that is nothing new. It's the same thing they've been doing since the Obama administration. It's just obstruct, obstruct, obstruct. Unless they have the power, then go, go, go.
So Obama got three.
Oh.
He got Sonia Sotomayor.
Mm-hmm.
That one, she made it through the Senate, and then Elena Kagan. She made it through the Senate, and then Justice Scalia died under his presidency, but Mitch McConnell filibustered it, and Merrick Garland never became a Supreme Court justice. But he is now the head of the Justice Department. He's the Attorney General of the country.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I feel like there's only like 3 liberal judges on the court at the moment.
There are only 3 liberal judges on the court at the moment. It's Sotomayor, Kagan, and the other guy who I mentioned.
Breyer or something.
Breyer, yeah, I think so. I might be wrong, but there are only 3, and there are 6 conservative justices. But the Supreme Court rulings that have been coming out haven't been terrible. They've been pretty okay. They passed. I mean, Obamacare won again.
Well, because I mean that one's never going to pass unless they get something else on the books. You can't repeal a law like that.
Yeah.
Unless you replace it with something else. And everybody's like, we're going to repeal it. No, you have to replace it.
And then the Republicans are like, yes, we will repeal and replace, but we don't really have a plan for the replace yet. It's just sort of a mixture of ideas that were floating around.
Which is why it never goes anywhere, because they need to flip it. They need to replace, then they can repeal.
Yeah.
But they don't want it around. So
yeah. Talk about a bill that has survived a lot of nonsense in the Senate. The Affordable Care Act was passed in Obama's first year, and the Republicans threatened everything. None of them voted for it, and they threatened all sorts of filibusters and stalling tactics and everything, and eventually got through. But because of the rules of the Senate and the filibuster, that cost President Obama all of his political capital. That was the only thing he really got done.
Well, again, the Republicans are going to torpedo it no matter what, because it wasn't what they wanted. They were at such a low ebb. It was whatever it takes.
Yeah,
and that mentality is still with them today. It's whatever it takes to keep our secure elections secure. Let's pass voter suppression laws and laws against early voting and laws against write-in ballots, and let's do all that.
And changing the laws on who actually decides who won the elections, like they're taking away
because if
power.
They don't do that, they'll lose.
Yeah, they're taking away power from secretaries of state who, traditionally are the people who say, okay, this is how the election went. It's been certified. These are the votes. But they're giving it to the legislatures who have no business doing that. because the
But they have, what are you
legislatures.
talking about? They have every business. How else are they going to keep themselves in power, Tim? You got to think like a Republican. It doesn't matter what's legal or ethical or sensible or logical. It's what keeps us in power. It stops the lizard people from eating babies' thalmoid glands or whatever.
Yeah, us Democrats, that's what we do, man. We eat babies.
Well, no, not realistically, but in their minds, you do.
Yeah, I mean, those are the
Meanwhile,
same
the
people.
Democrats are too busy having a who can be the most woke contest.
Oh yeah, I know. I know. It's,
And
you know what?
guess what? Nothing gets done.
I know. Yeah, right now the big thing is that the voting rights bill that the Democrats passed through the House is like dead in the Senate. They had a vote, they had a procedural vote yesterday and it was split 50-50, and then like that's it. Their only hope is that, they can try and get rid of the filibuster, which ain't never going to happen, or they can convince 10 Republicans to vote for it, which ain't never going to happen.
No, because once you make it easier and equal and fair for everybody to vote, the Republicans lose more and more power.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
do you think they
And
want? Do you think they want people to have power in this country?
well, they're refighting the battle
What do
from the 1950s and the 1960s under civil rights, where the
what do you
Republicans said,
what do you
"What?
think this is, a democracy?
Oh no, it's it hasn't been a democracy in quite some time."
I mean, come on, man. Like, we're not a democratic country anymore.
No,
We
no,
haven't been for a while. Hell,
it's
I don't know how much longer we're going to be a country for.
if we decide to break up with the rest of the country, do you think just the New England states should stick together
Yes.
and just do
It's
our
our,
own thing?
it's our best bet. Maybe we can get the Canadians to like militarily occupy us or something.
Be like, hey, Canada, just patrol the border. Keep those.
Bring your troops down here. We would love to have them. Might be the only way to get to Canada because they're never going to open that fucking border again.
Nope. They saw an opportunity to close it during COVID, and they're like, yeah, it's gonna stay that way.
Oh, we're still where, even though like 70% of American adults over the age of 30 have been vaccinated. 70%. We have the number of people vaccinated in this country equals the population of Russia, but Canada's still like, nope.
You are unclean and you're not allowed in.
That they were waiting for the excuse to keep us out.
I think that we should teach them a lesson. All show up at their border and be like, "Can I have asylum?"
No, you're American. You're filthy. Even though we're more likely to be vaccinated than they are, because we've kind of been hogging all the vaccine.
Yeah, that's another thing, man. Like, America just bought up all the vaccines. America and China bought up all the vaccines.
Well, like we were making them.
But that's the problem, is that like most of the vaccines are made in India, and they don't have enough.
I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah,
You, 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 you. The majority of these are coming from India, a country where the Ganges rivers has gotten so polluted because, especially during COVID, because you're supposed to light the body on fire and push it down the river. And people
so
couldn't do that in the wake of COVID. So they built a bunch of shallow graves and just started dumping the bodies in there. And now they're going, oh, typhoon season's coming. All those bodies are going to wash back up. That country, that country is making the majority of the vaccines.
let's see. India makes the AstraZeneca vaccine,
Which is not available in the United States.
which is not available in the United States. India co-produces the Moderna vaccine
With whom?
with us.
Yeah.
And I believe they also co-produce the Johnson and Johnson vaccine with us. But a lot of the reason why India makes some of the vaccines is because they have a lot of the ingredients for the vaccines that we don't have, because America outsourced all of its infrastructure to other countries.
Yeah, I think they
Before
might mean
that's
raw
pre-pandemic.
materials at that
Yeah,
point.
raw materials. Yeah,
Not
pre-pandemic, America didn't have the capacity to make any of this. And then
yeah.
in the last year and a half, we developed the capacity, but we still don't have the capacity for the raw ingredients for the vaccines.
Yeah, well, you got to get raw materials from somewhere else. That's with anything. I mean, we had to do the same thing to make the atomic bomb.
Right.
We got it from the Congo, man. But yeah, India may make a bunch. I have a hard time believing a country that's health system is that fucked up is somehow producing that many of them.
Yeah, well, the problem is that America was like, who's making vaccines? Let's buy them.
Oh well.
And the same thing with China. China, has to vaccinate its billion plus population. And I guess so does India, but I guess their country didn't get enough.
They don't have any money.
Yeah.
Did
And
you
that's
not hear the whole thing I said about the Ganges?
well, that's the problem is the countries that didn't have the money to pay for the vaccine now don't have the vaccine or not enough of it. And all of the more developed Western countries and China and I think Russia either develop their own vaccine.
Sketchy
Russia,
Russian vaccine.
yeah, or bought up whatever vaccine they could find.
I mean, we
And
developed a bunch of them. We developed the Pfizer and the Johnson and Johnson and the Moderna. AstraZeneca came from Europe, but that one already got held up for a whole bunch of reasons, and the FDA won't approve that one.
yeah, there's
Russia has
another
their
one.
own vaccine called the Sputnik vaccine.
Why would you call it the Sputnik vaccine?
I don't fuck. Well, I suppose for Russia that was a big deal, but like I don't fucking trust that.
If I was in Russia and I heard that they called their vaccine the Sputnik vaccine, I'd be like, let someone else go first. I don't want to be the
Let's.
first guy.
Yeah, you don't want to be number one on that list. Yeah, launch
No.
me into space. Let's see how it goes. God.
Oh, it's a crazy, crazy world we live in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so uh I don't know what to call it, but America burned through the stages of government really quickly. And we're in that end stage where everything is just messed up.
Just sort of circling the drain. Hey,
Yeah,
to be fair, we managed to be a functioning government for almost 250 years.
that's true with one constitution, one government document that we
Yeah,
amended a whole bunch of times, but it was fine.
hey, that's okay. It's a living document. It's what has to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
We're better
How many
off.
constitutions has France had?
I think they're on their fourth republic.
There you go. So
Or,
we're ahead of the game.
or if they so choose, they could be on their third empire. They're currently on, they've had two empires and four republics. So they're,
What's their third empire? Oh, he's leaving me again. Everyone's always leaving me.
sorry, phone was making scary noises.
Oh. What's the third empire they could have?
I don't know. Well,
Are you
let's
talking
see.
like the European Union or
I mean, I'm saying that there is still a direct descent. There is still a head of the House of Bonaparte.
I see.
Actually, wait, I
And
might be
he
wrong. They might be on three. No, 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 no. It was Kingdom of France. Then it was the French Empire under Napoleon. Then the Second Republic. Then the Second Empire under Napoleon III. Then the Third Republic. Then the Fourth Republic came about after the liberation of France from the Nazis.
I see. Yeah, so I mean we're
So
ahead of the game. We only had technically we had the Articles of Confederation and that lasted less than a year.
yeah, but
So
that was provisional. That was all provisional. Look
yeah,
at that. We are at the same stage that the Soviet Union was at in the 1980s. So we
Okay.
outlasted them by almost 40, 30 years.
Oh boy. It's almost 40 years.
No, they fell apart in 91.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's been
Okay.
30 years. 30 years, just long enough for there to be at least two generations to have come up who have no
Hmm.
clue who the fuck they are. I swear to God. It's like this cultural blind spot for anybody born after like 1985 who just don't remember that the Soviet Union was a thing.
Well, and that's why I think a lot of people don't get like what Putin is doing. Like he was a KGB operative. Like that
I
he
mean,
was one of the
he's
guys.
not going to restore the Soviet Union. That would be a great thing if he did that, but he won't. He is
Well,
he is
no,
an
but
he
he's
is
like
the head of the reactionary Russian Republic state with the new aristocracy in the form of the oligarchs. Like
yeah, but he's like he's trying to in like bits and pieces. Like he took back Kiev and he's fucking
Crimea.
around Crimea. He took back Crimea and he's fucking around in the Ukraine doing whatever he can to finish off that country.
I don't think he's
And
going to take all of it. I think he just wants the eastern bit.
yeah, but he's also like he's got his in like you said Belarus and all those other former Soviet tiny little Soviet republics.
You know, the crazy thing is the country that's moved into a lot of those Central Asian ones. Some of them even have troops from them now. Is the Chinese.
Oh God.
Russia's been screwing around in the Ukraine for so long they didn't notice that the Tajikistan and Kyrgyzstan support both now support Chinese garrisons.
Oh man.
Whoopsie!
Yeah.
How'd those two slip away there, Putin?
Well, he's
How are
so
things
worried.
in the Donbass?
He's so worried about like the Western front there that like he figured it's okay with China, but China doesn't really care. China's just grabbing whatever it can.
China bought up everything it could while we were busy fighting in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah, yeah. They went to
And
all these poor countries and were like, "Hey, you need a port? We got money."
we'll give you money, and if you default, you just lease it to us for 99 years.
Just like what happened in Hong Kong.
I'm not kidding. They did that to Pakistan.
Really?
Oh God, is it Lahore in the south? One of the Pakistan, whatever the major the Chinese gave them a whole bunch of money to renovate and update and modernize the port. And when they defaulted on the loan, the Chinese went, "Well, you just lease it to us now for 99 years. By the way, we're going to station Chinese troops here, and we're going to stock the port with Chinese employees. Thanks,
Yeah,
Pakistan."
yeah. That's what I was saying. It was like, oh yeah, you lease it to us, and then we'll put a few naval vessels in there just to keep an eye on it for your protection.
There's a brigade of Chinese Marines in the city now that largely protect the areas of habitation and employment for the Chinese workers in the area. Yeah, no, they full up pulled a Hong Kong on Pakistan.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
So
think they did the same thing in Burma. I don't know. But yeah, we're way off topic, huh?
yeah, I guess filibuster wasn't that interesting.
It's
The pro
depressing and there's only so much you can say about it.
Yeah. Here's the problem, and we'll end the show on this because we're almost at an hour. Um, the problem is that the Senate is so fucking log jammed. There's so much red tape and garbage that clogs it all up that nothing's gotten done in the Senate, and I don't know, except for emergency coronavirus relief. That's the biggest thing they've done in the last since Obamacare.
Wow, since 2009. So in the last 10, 11 years.
Well, if you think about it, the President Obama's big thing was Obamacare. That was the only thing he really got done legislatively. There were a few other things, but they didn't really matter. Trump's big thing was tax reform. He got that passed because in the first 2 years of his presidency, he had the House and the Senate. But even the Republicans couldn't do anything about repealing Obamacare. They couldn't do anything about infrastructure. They couldn't do anything about immigration, even though they controlled both houses. And the same thing about with the Democrats when they controlled both houses. Nothing gets done. And now Biden's trying to pass infrastructure. Nobody can agree on how much money is going to be spent or what the definition of infrastructure is. So it's not going to get done. Same thing with immigration.
And that's why the filibuster is racist somehow.
Yes, exactly.
That's like the Republicans want to get rid of it so they can throw a bunch of shit at the wall after they suppress votes, and the Democrats want to get rid of it because it's racist.
Yeah.
Like they really need to come up with a better reason.
How about then? And there is like there's a third option of reforming the filibuster. I forget who came up with it, but they were like, if you're going to filibuster, you actually have to be on the floor talking about something relevant to the bill.
Yeah.
And it can only last as long as you're on the floor. Otherwise, it goes for a motion for cloture and we end this whole thing. But unless they're willing to reform it that way, nothing's going to happen on it. You're going to get and the Republicans, if they get the House of Representatives in 2022, as is the norm when the majority party is in the White House.
Well, I mean, with all the Voter Suppression Act the Republicans have passed throughout the South, they're guaranteed almost,
Well, the Democrats probably saving grace on that is they're in charge of redistricting this time around. They get to redistrict this year. So they're gonna gerrymander the fuck out of some districts. Even though they spent the last 10, 20 years complaining about it, they're gonna fucking do it. And the
just
crazy
in time
thing,
for the midterms.
Yeah. The crazy thing is the voting rights bill that the Democrats are trying to pass has a amendment in it to get rid of gerrymandering. They would have districts drawn by a third party who doesn't have an interest in how the districts are drawn. They're just going to mathematically do it. And, that would not screw the Republicans over, but they don't care that much.
Yeah.
I mean, they would definitely lose a couple of seats because it's gerrymandered towards them anyway. But,
nope, they're going to gerrymander the fuck out of it so that it goes towards them. And the problem is that will actually more accurately represent a larger portion of the voting population.
Yeah.
If they're still allowed to vote.
If they're still allowed to get there. I mean, on the opposite side of things, Connecticut's there's gonna be a ballot measure on our ballots in 2022 to allow for early voting in Connecticut because Connecticut doesn't have early voting currently.
Gotta support that.
Yeah. And if we vote yes on that in 2022, it becomes part of the state constitution in 2024.
Just in time for the next election. Hooray.
Yay.
I don't want to live in this country anymore. Makes me sad because we can't do anything and everything keeps seeming increasingly conservative and crazy.
Yeah, and even
and the left is not helping. They start to seem increasingly violent and forceful.
Yeah, and they're a lot more divided because all the conversations I hear are the moderate Democrats versus the progressives. And the progressives want more and the moderates want to, not anger the Republicans so much. And the progressives are like, no, we have to do this, this, and this. Like, we have to do the $2 trillion infrastructure package. We have to do the voting rights bill with no amendments. We have to do, whatever it is. And people like Joe Manchin or what's the other one? Kirsten Sinema. They don't want to get rid of the filibuster or they don't want to do the big progressive agenda items because they come from red states and they have a certain constituency that is not going to like that.
Well, it also stands to reason that the progressives are increasingly uncompromising in what they want and are
Oh yeah,
using increasingly inflammatory rhetoric to defame anyone who disagrees with them for any reason.
for sure.
And that turns a lot of people off to your message when it's my way or the highway, and if you don't, I'm going to call you a whole bunch of bad things.
Yeah, yeah, and it's the AOCs of the world that that really throw a wrench into whatever the Democratic Party is trying to do as a whole.
Well, yeah, that's part of it. I mean, the Republicans are also increasingly right wing and violent as well. So it's not a great recipe. And what we need is more, temperance and understanding and compromise and less, well, it's my way or else. Because eventually we're going to hit the or else.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Republicans already kind of the or else kind of already happened on
That
January
that
6th.
that was not the or else. That was an outpouring of violence and anger and stupidity. We haven't hit the or else. We might, and you'll know because it'll be way more violent and way more organized, and a lot more people are going to wind up dead. How many people died in that? What, two?
To maybe
Three.
I
Three.
mean,
One police
yeah.
officer died of his wounds, another one committed suicide afterwards, and one lady got shot in the neck.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That ain't or else. That ain't a big enough body count for or else.
I mean, and not Obama. Biden is kind of a pretty reasonable guy to be president. Like, yeah, he's got things that he wants to get done, but he at least seems to want to work with the Republicans, but the Republicans don't want anything to do with any sort of democratic agenda because they don't want to seem to be compromising.
Right.
So,
Because their constituency is non-compromising.
yeah, and I think that's the problem is that I mean, the progressives and the hardcore conservatives are not compromising on what they want done, and people in the middle are sort of stuck trying to figure out how the hell to make the country work.
Yep.
And that's
Hello, post Brezhnev,
mm, get some
with
good old
their glorious leader, hero of the American Republic, Donald W. Trump.
uh
If he
I hear
could
he's
have
going to
given
start
himself a freedom medal, he would have.
he I'm pretty sure he tried. I'm pretty sure he was like, what can I get before I leave? What medal can I get?
The more medals he can get, the better. The more the direct allegory to Brezhnev will apply.
Man, I remember hearing that he was going to give out medals to people, and they're like, I don't want a medal. Why are
Yeah.
you giving me a medal?
Didn't he give one to the My Pillow guy?
Yeah, he gave one to the My Pillow guy, and he tried to give one to some other people who were like, "No, I don't want a medal. I didn't do anything."
I don't want a medal, least of all from you.
Yeah, and he gave one to Rush Limbaugh before Rush Limbaugh died. I remember he
Yeah.
was like, "Who wants a medal? I'll give you a medal. Let's go."
Who wants a medal? They're just handing them out at the White House. God.
God, our country's depressing.
Yeah. We need a third person. That's the
We
other
do
thing.
need a third person. We're too cynical.
Well, it's hard not to be when you're talking about Old Glory here. That was another big thing in the news.
Oh, yeah, a flag burning bill. I saw that.
No, 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 no. The suggestion that we need to have a new flag.
We need to have a new flag. I didn't
Oh
hear about
yeah.
this.
Oh man, it was all over the internet. It was all about how Macy Gray, remember her?
Yes.
She wrote an article saying that America needs to adopt a new flag because its old flag is divisive, racist, and a whole bunch of other things.
What? But 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 why?
Because it's divisive and racist. She said the R word. That's it. There's no more logic behind it. I mean, there might be from hers, and I read a little bit about it before I went. Oh, this is so stupid.
Oh,
But yeah, they want to have a new flag.
I don't. Oh, see that here. This is a clear example of the problem. So I assume this is the left that wants a new flag, right? Because it's racist,
Yeah.
and the right, I believe, I forget who it was, but a House member from the conservative side proposed a bill against flag burning, like they do all the time. Like there's your two extremes right there. The flag must be protected at all costs against whoever wants to hurt it, and we need a new one.
With 52 stars.
50. Well, we need to fucking make DC a goddamn state.
And that
And
would
Puerto
give
Rico.
us, yeah, that's 52. And all the stars would still be there, but they'd be all different colors representing the color palette of peoples who live in the country.
Ugh. That's. I want to say that's just like, that's tiring.
Because it's
Like,
stupid.
that's.
That's not even remotely why those stars are there or what that, like the color of, like, oh my God,
Yeah.
how stupid do you have to be?
It's. I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get our national politics. Honestly, I don't get some of our state politics. I don't understand, and maybe this will be a discussion for further on down the road, but I don't understand why. I know how. I just don't understand why.
Why what?
Why the country can no longer get policy done. And what So I've been reading through um, a book about American tribalism in the 80s and the 90s. And I understand how we got to where we are because of certain political actors. I just don't understand why, because usually at this point there's some sort of change in politics where it goes back to sort of a bipartisan thing because there's been a shift in politics and then it sort of calms down for a little bit. But this time there's been a shift in politics, but it's just getting worse.
I mean, yeah, it's called social media, man.
No, I suppose.
I mean, I don't think we've given enough credence for how much the internet revolutionized and changed things, and not for the better necessarily. So a lot
Yeah.
of things the internet made and did that were great, but now we're kind of seeing the ugly side of what the internet and social media has enabled. You have people who are completely brainwashed to the left and the right.
Yeah.
And they grew up in a culture on the internet where you could say whatever you wanted and shout the other person down and never have to admit fault, never have to back down,
I yeah,
and never have to deal with the real world consequences of saying or treating someone like that, speaking that way or treating a person like that.
yeah, yeah. And
And it's created the echo chambers that people live in now.
yeah, and it's affected our representatives in a way where they feel that they're not accountable to anyone but really themselves. Because before, people in Congress, they were on opposing sides and they had opposing viewpoints, but they all like drank together at the end of the day. And they all got along for the most part. But now they just sit in their own caucuses and their own parties in their own corner of Congress and spout whatever they want, not accountable to the party even. And that's it, man. Nothing gets done because everyone's out for themselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on top of the social media, you had the Citizens United and the repeal of the Glass-Steagall Act, and all these things just let money flood in on top of it.
Ugh, don't even get me started about campaign
But,
finance.
I mean, but that's all part of what got us to where we are.
Yeah.
Why aren't things getting better? because there's too much money to be made for anybody to want to work together when you're out for yourself. And the echo chambers on the internet and social media, I mean, they don't have to. That being moderate, that being conciliatory, that being willing to compromise are all now negatives.
Well, it's a sign of weakness if you reach across the aisle at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. That's
I
why
think
nothing gets done.
yeah, I think like the last, this is gonna sound like ridiculous, but the last like real group to get it done, or the last like across the aisle friends were Joe Biden and John McCain. They were Republican and Democrat, but they were best buds and they did shit together. But you don't see anyone like that now. Ain't no one doing shit together now. There are co-sponsors of bills, but it's only to, spite someone else.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Well,
The level
now that,
of unity in the Senate and Congress directly reflects the level of unity in this country.
yeah. Well, I think that's where we're gonna end the show.
On that uplifting note,
Nolan, do your thing. Talk about your stuffs.
oh, sorry. Um,
You can dance if you want to.
can I leave my friends behind?
Well, yeah, if your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, then they're no friends of mine.
There's an uplifting note to go out on. Yeah. I am Nolan, and now I'm over here. Ooh, and now I'm
Oh,
over there.
hold on. I was trying to fix it.
Oh,
There we go.
and now it's just me. What madness has happened? Um, when I am not here, I am at home. Actually, I'm at home now. But I also have another podcast you can listen to if you don't get enough of me talking here, where I talk about things that aren't depressing and sad, like politics in America. No, I'm not, Tim. God damn it. On In the Nerd, where we talk about anything and everything you can nerd out about, with a weekly chat on what we've been nerding out about, and then a chat later on about a very specific topic. And nerding is a broad subject, so there's a lot of things we could talk about, from intellectual properties to hobbies to things like that. So check us out, In the Nerd Podcast. We're on Apple and Spotify and one other one whose name I don't remember. There we go, In the Nerd Podcast. That's it. That's all I got.
Okay. Wait. Oh, there I am. There we are.
There it is.
Let's get rid of that. There we go. Okay, so if you like this show, if you like Speaking from the Center, go and like us on the YouTubes and the Facebooks. Why not? And you could go to Patreon and maybe subscribe and give us the money, like Shartan does, and Jenna. Oh, I talked to Jenna. She might be on the show soon.
How soon?
Maybe in the next week or two. She's got to look at her schedule.
That'd be awesome.
But she's got cool things to say, and also she's our producer, so she can say whatever she wants.
That's right.
But you too can become a producer of Speaking from the Center, and we'll put you on the show. How frightening is that?
Terrifying.
But yeah, go to Facebook, like us on Facebook, leave a comment. Go to YouTube, leave a comment. Don't care what the comment is, just go leave it. And go and follow us on Twitch, because we stream on the Twitch. And that's about it. And do all the links at the bottom of the screen. Just do them. And we'll see you next week on Wednesday at 8 p.m. with hopefully a less depressing episode.
Yay.